So they had punch holes in it. You'd feed into this like money counting thing. It would read the computer program from the holes in the cards.
Unbelievable.
And then the program would go in the computer from the punch cards pre-magnetic tape. The highs are higher and the lows are lower when you have that high drive mindset. Data-oriented company, found some people had problems that need to be solved.
Yeah.
We coded that. They bought it, and then so more people started buying the software. It had pretty easy access to capital. I mean, when you have a couple $100,000 of revenue in technology, it's not hard to get capital introductions.
Yeah.
The hard capital introductions are when you have no revenue, an idea. This is why the presentation I showed you, we talk about these toxic cheat codes that professional investors put in deals. Real estate is about the people who go in the building in the morning and leave at night, or stay there overnight and leave in the morning.
Correct.
It's about the people.
Welcome to the Chris Salerno Show, your go-to for real estate, business, health, and family insight. I'm Chris Salerno, CEO of QC Capital. Each episode, we explore the latest trends and expert advice from industry leaders. Whether you're an investor, entrepreneur, or seeking balance, this show provides an inspiration you need. Join us and elevate your game on the Chris Salerno Show. Welcome to the Chris Salerno Show. I'm your host, Chris Salerno. Very excited to have Oren Klaff on the show. Best-selling author, pitch anything, flip the script, wealth of knowledge when it comes to pitching, raising capital, and much more. We're going to dive into all of that and how you got to where you are at currently today. But before all of that, let's take it all the way back to childhood.
Yeah.
Walk us through that. Where were you born? Talk us through that lifestyle.
Yeah, very easy. Misery, suffering, pain. Unfortunately, I do not have my dad moved us to America and we ate sandwiches from garbage cans, rags to riches. My dad was a college professor, came from South Africa. I was born in Israel. He was at the University of Jerusalem. He did his, PhD at the University of Wisconsin. We lived in the Midwest. Eventually he was a tenured professor at the University of Delaware in demography and sociology. We grew up on college campuses. We traveled the world, had a nice, rich education. Both, and we always had computers in the house. He worked a lot in computer science. I was just telling my son this morning that his first computer programs were done on cards.
Okay.
On these sort of index cards with punch cards.
Yeah.
So they had punch holes in it. You'd feed into this like money counting thing. It would read the computer program from the holes in the cards.
Unbelievable.
And then the program would go in the computer from the punch cards pre-magnetic tape.
Wow.
So that's how he had to program computers. We had a lot of computers that didn't have a screen, so it would just print out like a fax machine would print it out. And then every time you asked the computer a question, it would reprint the whole screen.
Unbelievable.
So went through a lot of that. So very early introduction to computer science, computer programming. I was in engineering, then moved into business, and then poof.
I love it.
Next thing you know.
Love it. Quick, simple, boom.
It was
all the
very
way
easy.
There.
Yes.
Let's talk about that mindset and drive that you have. Do you feel like you got it from your father?
Yeah. So we go through this with my son. Mindset and drive. It comes with it. You see that my son plays hockey. He plays two sports in which mindset and drive are absolutely critical to success. So go-karting.
Yes.
You just see kids are daredevils. They stick the nose of the cart in there. They push the cart to its limit.
Yeah.
It's complete sort of genetic programming.
Correct. Yep.
And so
the drive,
he
willingness.
doesn't have that. Of course, it's because of his mom. I have to blame her. But it's he has very good qualities.
Those individuals are willing to die for it.
Yeah.
It's
I
a
think
whole
of
different.
Nate Diaz.
Yeah.
Nate Diaz, the fighter,
he's
UFC
wild.
fighter.
I mean, he just brawls. I love UFC.
Nate, if you interview him, he goes, "You put me in there, right? For me to lose, you will have to fucking kill me."
Yeah, you're gonna have to bring him out in a body bag.
My son does not have that.
Yeah.
But I think
I think that definitely is a certain maybe genetic or mindset. We've interviewed a couple bare knuckle champions, which Conor McGregor just bought into that huge organization, and they have a different mindset. You can just see it and feel it when you talk to them. Whole different type of mindset.
So my dad was not like that.
No.
I am. My brother's not. My son is not. It's just,
you have it or you don't.
You have a mindset, you have a no. It is not necessarily good.
Yeah.
Because it's very easy with a mindset to get over your skis.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And then you trial and error. The errors are, the highs are higher and the lows are lower when you have that high drive mindset.
It is, and I can't compare it to drugs because I've never been a drug addict, but I want to see from what I've read that it feels like you're coming off drugs. Like your lows as an entrepreneur or business, individual are very, very low, and I think it's very important to be surrounded with like-minded individuals that are business partners and coaches and mentors, because when you start to feel that happening, you reach out to them, you talk to them, you really get back on that right train.
So look, I have a friend in real estate, and we were roommates in college. We still in contact many times a day. And he is very measured, thoughtful, careful, very, very successful. Runs a large portfolio of real estate. We tried to work together many times.
And
if you gave me his real estate portfolio and his wealth, the way he got into it, I would give it back to you, because I'm not passionate about doing it that way.
Yeah.
I don't go to those kinds of meetings. He goes to city council meetings.
Oh yeah. No.
I go to, fly a plane with an entrepreneur that invites me to do something. He wants to go motocrossing, he wants to go scuba diving, whatever. I'm there, try and form the relationship, try and close the deal. He goes to city council meetings, very predictable, high probability, very programmatic, very Gantt chart way in which there's a lot of high certainty.
Oh yeah.
I go into situations in which the extremes of pitch anything and flip the script are necessary to deliver the day. Yeah. But I do deliver the day. So I like those high profile, high risk, high reward scenarios with people, because it brings me invigoration.
Most definitely.
And, right. And so, that is not my son, but he plays hockey. And he races go-karts, and he's a very good hockey player. Now, the difference is he's a defenseman. So a defenseman takes a lot of, if I played hockey,
a lot of strategy.
It takes a long time to grow that position.
Yeah.
It's a lot of skating backwards, requires full ice. And if you talk to coaches, they say it takes you can grow up offenseman like that.
Quick.
Because it's trick moves, it's speed.
Plus you're going forward.
Deflection, you're moving forward, and sure, you want to score goals, but when you're in defenseman, many times you're getting beat, but you've pushed the puck to the outside.
Yeah.
Right. So the goal is not to do your job to perfection; it's to allow the rest of your team to get in position. So you're getting beat all the time.
Oh yeah.
Even though your job is to get beat slowly.
Most definitely.
Right. I couldn't live like that, but he plays. My job, I would be the offenseman. We're like zigzag, shoot, trick shot. Top shelf where Mama hides the cookies. Yeah. Get in the newspaper, and then the team gets a better player. You get cut, and so you hit the lows. So
I have more of a Nate Diaz mindset. Just take me out. Let's go.
Yeah.
And it, like you said, it's very difficult to have that.
Yeah.
It's okay that other people don't have that. It's not meant for everybody, which is good.
So that's the story. I tried a lot of things. I had a software company very early. It was very successful. It grew very quickly, and that's how I got into raising capital.
Talk to us before that software company. How'd you get started in that? What sparked your eye about software? Because again, highly competitive industry. There's a lot of moving parts, things like that.
I think software is just, it's when you're young, you think about like, hey, here's some cool features, or here's something that could be done, instead of finding here's people who have problems that need to be solved. And so I was fortunate to it's a data-oriented company, found some people had problems that need to be solved. Yeah. We coded that. They bought it, and then so more people started buying the software.
I love that.
For me, the issue was we moved out here from the East Coast to California, flew out to had never been to California.
And how long have you been in California?
I've been here now a long time.
Oh, have you?
20 years.
Oh, wow.
But when we came out here, my partner and I flew into San Diego. We drove to La Jolla, and we were like, no need to go any further. Right? We were like 10 miles from the airport. We loved it. We could have gone like a little bit further north to Los Angeles or San Francisco and maybe gotten a more software friendly environment, but anyway, moved here. We loved it. I grew the company, got it to doing $700,000 a month, but we're burning through cash. As what we didn't understand, even though we were profitable on a unit level, as you start growing so fast,
correct,
it draws on cash. And so venture capital was not really super well established. We started needing money.
And what year was this?
So this would have been 96, 97.
Okay, so this was right before the .com.
Right before .com.
Yeah.
In fact, one of our employees, an intern, came to us and said, hey, look at this cool internet stuff. I'm like,
And you're like, nah,
hey,
get out of
don't
here.
bother me with this. Like, I've been online, I've been on bulletin board systems. I understand how that stuff works. Don't bother me with that. We have a real software company, right? Selling real CD-ROMs. So we probably missed that for the business that we were in. Yeah. But I went out to get some capital for the business, and that's really where I turned, which was, so they go, hey, what's your pro forma?
Walk to us through that experience. Yeah. That's the first time Orens says, hey, I got to raise some capital because we're burning through capital. We need it to grow. We need it to stay alive. What does that look like? Where did you make those first introductions? What was in that mindset? Do you have a mentor or coach? Because a lot of people go out and start raising capital. They don't know where to start. That's a big thing too. And they do it wrong too.
I didn't have a mentor or coach. I guess when you have that type AAA personality, you're your own coach.
I love it. I will say, and I should have said this on your podcast as well, is that actually Pitch Anything was the book I wrote right when I was creating QC Capital, my private equity company that I have. That was one of the first books I actually read going into the formation of it. So that's phenomenal book.
It says Pitch Anything is an instruction manual. We still read it today. I have people call me from Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan all the time, and they go, hey, just want to let you know you didn't invent this. Like, they'll go out of the way to try and connect with me, spend a bunch of time. I'm like, I never said I invented it. No. They're like, whoa, we love the way you wrote it because this is what we do every day. That's the point of it.
You can understand it. That's the biggest thing. I mean, there's so many things that have been invented out there, but if you can't understand it, you bring it to a level where everyone can understand it, which is important.
That's how real capital works.
Yeah.
And so, so what happened is I had a friend who was an attorney. He said, hey, I can hook you up with these sources of capital, some on Wall Street, some locally, some organized capital, venture capital, not really taking its, big .com inflection point yet, but it's had pretty easy access to capital. I mean, when you have, a couple $100,000 of revenue in technology, it's not hard to get capital introductions. Yeah. The hard capital introductions are when you have no revenue, an idea, and you got a couple users and it's not a thing. But once you have a going concern, 30 employees and a thing that's happening,
it's a lot easier.
It's so long ago now. I now remember what happened. What caused the capital frustration is that we started on the East Coast and we had a very small community bank.
Oh.
Right. And they woke up and they're like, oh my God, we have a customer that is now in California, which we have, a couple $100,000 of capital risk against with the way cash flows through us and the way we do. They credit it and run our account. They sent somebody out to look at this California operation. A bunch of young kids, coffee tables, no decor whatsoever, no oak desks, like they're
See, back
used
in the day, that's what they do. They come out and inspect your office.
Inspect the office. So we had, a bunch of sports cars in the parking lot in Southern California, near the beach.
And as an investor,
laptops.
They're an investor. They
consider themselves to be an investor. And these guys can roll up this whole thing. Laptops,
easy,
coffee tables.
And we're all at risk.
And we're at $350,000 of risk holding the bag the way cash flows through this account. And so they did a cash suspension. So they immediately built a $350,000 cash escrow on our account. So we run it tight, because we're growing, but it was working. All of a sudden we had no access to half our capital.
Oh God.
So I started reaching out, and that is when people were like, hey, no problem. We love this. We understand the problem. This is a very classic finance problem. Go ahead and just send us your pro forma, your income statement, your marketing plan, your org chart, your assumption-driven model, your Excel spreadsheet, or then Lotus 123, or and walk us through the competitive set. How you view your peer group. What your intellectual property pipeline looks like. Your cost to acquire, the lifetime value of a customer.
And how were you when all that kept hitting you? Was that new to you at that time?
Yeah. So then I'm like, oh my God. So that was
slow
my
down.
first introduction to the language of finance.
Yes.
And so this is what I say now. I talk about this in my presentations, which is you're very likely good at the game of business. Mm-hmm. So the game of business, for you guys out there, for people listening, is features, benefits, value proposition, some kind of brand, right? And then you have a gross margin on your product. Then you buy advertising, or you do some kind of marketing, you bring in customers, you sell them your product, Hopefully you have some services attached to it that gives you a gross margin. Then you have a layer of cost, and you have operating margin. Operating margin rolls down, and then you pay depreciation, taxes, and then hopefully there's something left over for the good guy management and the cap table, maybe some distribution of the cap table. Then you roll that around, reinvest it next year, have better products and services, more operating margin, and eventually your cost to acquire goes down because you get some organic recognition.
And a lot of people don't realize this when they want to create a company or when they're in it, how many moving parts there is.
And that's a game of business, and
Correct.
it's all consuming. And I think what I just described to you happened to me is what happens when somebody in the game of business then has to go play the game of money.
Yeah.
And it's a totally different game.
It is.
It's on a different game board, different rules, different players, and the things that work in the game of business don't work in the game of money. So that was my first introduction, from being very high functioning in engineering, computer science, mathematics, go-getter, to saying, whoa, there's an entirely different game in the world of business called the game of money that I know nothing about.
Oh, yeah. No, I think that's super important. I always say everyone should understand the art of raising capital, and you should be, especially if you have a private equity company, understand it in a good market and the bad market, because everyone's going to always need capital. So if you know how to raise capital and attract capital into your organization to deploy it into other businesses or deploy it into your assets, you are going to have a very large company and long-standing company as well.
I feel like I think the game of business, you can get an MBA, you can read, you can get MBA for Dummies, you can see, and it is sort of, you can learn it on the way. The game, you could be very self-taught, or you can have people help you, but it feels much more learnable. To me, the game of money or finance, to know, but to not yet have done is to not yet know. Yeah. And I don't think that applies the same in doing business.
Agreed.
Right? And so I've discovered through that experience in finance, there's insiders and outsiders. Entrepreneurs tend to grade as an outsider. Mm-hmm. That's where they come from. They're like, why can't there be
that's not
Spanx,
impossible. Yeah.
Right? Why can't there be better underwear? Why can't this database that we did be run more efficiently. And produce better results and be easier to use and cheaper, like 100 times cheaper?
Oh yeah.
So entrepreneurs come in, why can't, right? And then they invest in solving a problem. In finance, you're not really solving a problem. You are attracting capital. So in business, you're selling. And so that's why so many entrepreneurs are salespeople. They are, as my son would say, smooth talkers.
Oh yeah.
They're good at talking. They can talk to themselves out of situations. In finance, you cannot talk yourself out of situations. You can't talk yourself into something, because capital is looking to, it is not looking to solve a problem.
Yeah.
Capital is not looking to, you can't sell capital. It can be attracted. And so it's looking for a better place to create a yield, and it has a buy box that is much more specific than I think most people believe. So most people view capital as money, right? Hey, I'm going to go talk to money. And this is where people waste all their time, and I think I wasted a lot of time. Yeah. Like, I introduction to people with money. Instead of saying, so finance today is so refined, even if you are in, say, multifamily, right? And if somebody says, hey, I invest in multifamily assets, right? The returns that they're looking for, the geographic region that they're looking for, the kind of entrepreneur they're looking for, the hold period they're looking for, their buy box is so specific.
Correct.
That you can't, as opposed to, if you're a plumber, right?
You just need to fix a leak.
You need to fix a leak. Maybe somebody is building an ADU and they're looking for their buy box is, do you exist?
Correct.
Right? Do you have a van?
Yep.
Are you available?
Yep.
Are you upright? And can you tell me something about your pricing and give me a quote and come work on that? And that's the buy box, is you exist and breathe.
Oh yeah.
Moving to finance, I think this, because it's so competitive for capital, that the buy box is so specific that largely what happens is, with people who are entrepreneurial, they're selling capital who has a buy box. You're trying to get somebody to do something they don't normally do.
Yeah.
And that is why finance seems so hard.
It is.
When we take a deal that is 100% baked for the firm that we're taking to, it's like, boom, it just snaps in. and we close in 30 days.
Oh, yeah.
Whereas somebody else bringing something that's just off by a small amount can be 6 months to never.
Astronomical. Yeah.
And so I view it ultimately insiders versus outsiders. And so if you're an outsider as an entrepreneur and you're not an insider to finance, it is a huge barrier to entry. And the challenge is, so if I'm going, maybe bad example, but I'm going to a bar and I'm talking to a supermodel.
Yep.
Right. Supermodel's not talking to me, 55-year-old family guy, because she's curious.
It depends how much money you have these days.
Sure, but I just go in, like maybe I'm dressed now with trainers, 5 foot 8.5 with the afro, 5'9", and she's not talking to me because she's curious about people and ideas. She's mate seeking. What's in it for her and mate seeking.
Yeah.
And so capital does not have that same behavior. They will talk to you because they're interested.
Correct.
In relationships, in ideas, in learning about the world, and just maybe this deal doesn't go well, but the next one you have, or maybe this deal matures a lot further. And so they will talk to you for good reason, some reason, and no reason.
Oh, most definitely.
Right?
Most
Not
definitely.
because you're a good fit. And all these challenges await outsiders for capital, where it seems like this rich, incredible minefield, or not minefield, but supermarket, for money. And when you get there, it just becomes incredibly difficult for outsiders.
I love that. And we're going to talk on leaving that company after that raise. Before we do, you brought up a good point that I want to touch on. How does Oren have a very strict criteria so those individuals that come and take Oren's time and your company's time, because you have a phenomenal project you're doing right now out in Italy, bringing it to the United States. We're going to touch on that. But how does Oren really filter out those individuals that say, hey, I want to talk to, get an understanding of what you guys are doing, just like we chatted briefly on your podcast on the Zoom call.
Yeah.
Talk to us about that. Is how do you really filter that out to make sure the individuals that are getting your time, or there's a very high chance they're going to invest?
So, Chris, this falls under, one of those strategies in which you will get Instagram comments of like, who is this jerk? And who does he, I would never like that. And how do you live like that? But I think about it is, I have this visual. My son just did a program this weekend of a Goje. Goje was where they would send the boys in these Spartan societies, Greek and Roman, to off into the wild to become men, on their own.
I love that.
Right, and then they would come back having faced these huge
high challenges,
very high challenges on their own, and they would take real hits, real knocks, real see
real
life without
stuff,
dad. Mommy coddling.
And you
them
can't go to comfort because mom and dad are not there. That's the number one thing. I mean, when my son would fall, he'd look at me, and my reaction, he would then react to. And every time he'd fall, get up, come on, you're good. Like, we don't need to sit here and cry. There's nothing to cry about. Let's go. Keep moving.
We see it in hockey. Half the kids, they do something on the ice wrong or right, and they look over to find their mom or dad for approval or disapproval.
It's a psychological comfort.
We cannot get our son's attention through the entire game.
Oh, he's locked in.
He's just locked in. He doesn't know if we're there or not. Now a little bit, he's playing really high level. He'll look for a thumbs up. And maybe
make sure I got dad's approval.
But during the break, but not during the game for sure.
Oh yeah,
because he's 100% locked in. So I think about this, and going back to your question, I developed this visualization from the movie 300.
I love that movie.
Right, and there's the pit in the middle of their village, right, and the messenger comes, and like, you don't kill messengers, and he's talking to him, and the messenger delivers this threat. And the Leonidas looks back at his wife. She gives him the nod. Boom, kicks the guy in the pit. How dare you come to my village with this message? You go down the pit. So I do the same thing. In groups, I throw investors in the pit.
Love that.
Very, very visually, very verbally,
you call them
professional.
Out.
I call them out and I tell them, hey, this call is not for you, right?
Yep.
Welcome to tribal council. Put your torch out. The tribe has spoken. The operating guys have packed your bags, right? You'll be leaving the island. Thank you for playing.
Yeah.
And so they'll be there on a call, and they're like, are you telling me to get off this call? I am telling you to get off this call, so the people are here to actually do the work we're doing with interest, professionalism, capital availability, and focus can do the Lord's work that we're doing. And I'm going to continue to reveal confidential information that is not appropriate for you, given the amount of capital you have, given your mindset, given your desire to be in a community of people doing this, and just the fact that I do not think that our existing investors would like having you around.
Oh, yeah.
And for that reason, Tribal Council has spoken.
I love that.
And so, wrong or right, what it does do, as opposed to signaling to one person you're wrong or right, it signals to everybody. We're not screwing around here.
Yeah.
We're doing it seriously. If you can't be serious, if you want to doodle, you don't want to have your camera on, you don't want to focus, you don't want to participate, you don't want to be part of a community that is able to get these kinds of returns in this kind of deal together, then this is not for you, and we don't want you here.
Most definitely. No,
and,
I like
and
that.
So I'll do, but I'll also do that for individuals. So I'm talking to a firm.
Yeah.
Not long ago for this deal, talking to a firm interested in putting $3 million in the deal. This is our fourth call together. This is a Zoom call. They brought all of them. We're bringing the big head of the firm. Right.
Why wasn't
the head of the firm? So finally, we got him on the call. We got Bruce on the call. He comes on. Right. He's muted and he's talking on his phone. I'm like, hey guys, okay, so are you guys here? Like, this is the head of your firm. Presumably he sets like the standard for how you guys behave, and he doesn't seem to be able to focus on this call. He's like, I was talking to my CFO. I'm like, okay, we're doing this for half an hour. You have 7.5 other hours today to talk to your CFO and like presumably an established business.
Oh yeah.
Right? Can you guys focus now? Right? And they're like, yeah, we can focus. I go, great. So we've had 4 calls together. Our teams have probably spent 6 hours on it. We're probably driving towards an LOI. Where are your questions? And so the head of the firm goes, tell me a little bit about the project. I'm like, hey man, if that's what you think we're doing 6 hours in, we're not doing this. What? Not that I'm not willing to do it, right?
I hope you're enjoying today's episode. Just a quick reminder to make sure you never miss an episode. Stay connected with us by following us on social media platforms, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, TikTok at Chris_Salerno_. And don't forget to subscribe to YouTube to catch the video versions of our episode. You'll get exclusive content, behind the scenes footage, and much more. Head over to YouTube, Chris_Salerno now, and hit the subscribe button. Stay tuned because we've got more great content coming right after this.
If it's this hard right now at the beginning, we're still looking for a term sheet. We're looking to still go to a definitive agreement. We're still looking to discuss assumptions. We're still looking to look at deal terms. We're still looking to have a closing chart. We can't get this shit straight. How are we going to get the hard stuff done? So
you're not.
If you believe that humans put their best face forward at the beginning of a relationship, and this is your best face, I'm out.
100%.
And so they're like, what? Like, correct. Right? So give you a couple options. If you guys say, look, we are having a bad week. We're in 2 closings. One of them fell apart. We had to put together, we had to bring Dentons in, spin them up. We spent $150,000 in legal this week. We didn't think, we're not prepared for this call, but this is not us.
Yeah.
Right? So you could say that, and I understand it. Perfectly reasonable.
Oh, most definitely.
Or you could say something else which says, hey, look, man, this is just how we always behave because we have money, we have capital, we have leverage, we yank people around, on both timing and terms, and we just control the deals we're in because that's who we are. No problem. I know lots of people do it. It's just not going to work here. Which is it? And unless they can say, we're having a bad week, this is not really us, give us another chance, I'm out.
Yeah.
So these are some of the selection mechanisms. I'm talking about another one.
I think I'm going to interrupt.
Yeah.
I think the big thing is that people are afraid to be direct, and they're afraid to just say it how it is. At the end of the day, you have to be direct, and you have to say it how it is, and then you have to be willing to go ahead and step away from the deal. Which they were shocked. They were shocked
Completely shocked
because you wanted the investment. And they were shocked that you said, hey, I don't want your investment anymore. If this is how you guys do business, I don't want to be a business partner.
So hear me out. There's something behind this, which is if investor is the only profession that I know about, right, where you can just say you're an investor.
Yep.
You don't have to provide any evidence of that, and you can get into meetings, you can get stuff, you can meet celebrities, you can go to the Beverly Hills Hotel, you can eat shrimp and fly on planes without having to produce a shred of evidence. So let's play a little game here. I will ask you what you do, and you say you're a fireman.
That's it.
Okay. What do you, Chris? What do you do?
I'm a firefighter.
Oh, great. Where? What department?
Charlotte.
Oh, great. What? You're in the. Are you in logistics? You ride the truck. You're in the front of the truck. Are you on fire rescue?
Yeah, I actually drive the truck. So whenever, the bell goes off, I make sure that everyone's in the car or the truck, hop in the driver's seat, and I'm flying down the road.
What kind of, at least in California, you almost need to have a PhD in medicine to be able to get one of these positions. What kind of a background and training do you need for that?
Well, I mean, I have my associates, and then I went to Firefighter School, went through the academy.
Where was your firefighter school?
Yeah, in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was able to actually do first, before all of that, I worked as a volunteer at the local firefighter, and then I was able to get sponsored to then go to Firefighter School or Firefighter Academy.
What hospital do you guys, when you guys go to rescue, where, what
so
hospitals
the main one we use is the Charlotte one, so in the city, and that's the main trauma one. Other than that, we use one that's a little smaller, which is in South Charlotte.
Yeah, so even that, right? So you cannot just say I'm a firefighter because people go, where? What department?
Correct.
Right?
Yeah,
Are you a friend?
Where
Are
do
you in
you do
logistics?
all
Are you
that?
a trainer? You're a first responder? What hospitals you go to? Same thing. I'm a policeman. Oh, really cool. What department? Torrance, Los Angeles, Encinitas, Leucadia,
Canine dog,
San
like,
Diego.
what do you do? Yeah.
Right. Are you in Are you in
Are you on
Canine?
the
Are you in
SWAT
rescue?
team?
Are
What
you
do
in
you do?
SWAT?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm in SWAT. Where'd you get your training? You have a military background? Yeah, I was in the Navy.
They want more.
What
They
branch of
dive
the Navy?
deeper into
right.
it.
I'm a college professor. Oh, really? What university?
Yeah.
What do you teach? Grad?
How long you been doing it?
Right.
Yeah.
I'm the undergrad. What's your specialization? Are you published? Can I read any of your papers? What conferences do you go to?
And no one's going to say, "Oh, you're a firefighter." Okay, cool. Great.
Investor.
Correct.
I'm an investor.
They want to know everything about you.
Maybe they go, well, what do you invest in? Real estate.
Yeah.
Right. And then people don't know how to plumb your background anymore.
Correct.
So we have people coming all the time who are used to being able to say, throw that around. We're an investor. Right. Except now you met somebody who knows what that means. Really? What's your capital overhang?
Yeah.
Right? Is it a call fund? Is it a fund one? What's the size of the fund? Right? What's your waterfall? Grilled you on it.
Yeah.
Right? What's your investor base? Is it wealth management, accredited investors, qualified investors?
Yeah, I think there's
institutional?
there's definitely a big difference between your very sophisticated, your institutional, your retail investors. Your retail investors that are quote unquote, they investor, but they're not a highly sophisticated investor who understands waterfall structures. At an exit, who gets paid first, all of that, especially with.
So I think they tend not to be the problem. The problem is somebody who goes, I'm an investor.
Yeah.
Right. And would you have a fund? Yeah, I have a fund. So here's what I would say: 8 out of 9 people that you talk to who say I'm an investor are not.
Yeah, no.
They, say they're aspirationally investor, and so why do they say that? Number one, they just want to be in the cool kid meetings. They don't know what it means, but they get a lot when they say that.
Yep.
Number two, they work in a firm and they're building pipeline to show up because you can't, they need to show that they're out meeting people. They have deal flow. Number three, they're trying to put together a call fund. So in order to put together a call fund, you're showing people that you have deals.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And then you're saying, and so you're really, a call fund is more of a broker than it is an actual, captive capital fund. Call funds can work. So most of the people you meet who have an investor cannot put their hands on the money. I meet a lot of kids in the dad's company or in the dad's fund. So, the key to that is we.
Yeah.
And the question is that who's we?
Yeah.
Me and my dad. Oh, so you run around doing all kinds of fun meetings, bringing all kinds of stuff back, and your dad only does real estate. So, so I've seen many of those. So,
oh yeah.
I'm an investor. I think the point is you have to be tough on people who occupy that I'm an investor position.
Correct.
What allocation size?
Yeah.
What is your timeline? Do you have a thesis? What have you been in before? How much capital do you represent? How many investments will you make? And then ultimately for me, once I go, hey, I have somebody who fits not my buy box, but my invest box.
Correct.
I want to let them know that you are not choosing me, I'm choosing you. And because the worst thing you can do in a deal is take a bad apple investor.
Very
can
much so.
kill a company.
Oh,
can
they'll
cause
they'll kick you out.
So for sure. So this is why we say the last day you enjoy working at your company is the first day you take private equity. There may be exceptions to that, but largely once you take private equity or venture capital, you have a job. It can be a very high paid job in which you have a lot of equity in the company. other ways to get equity in a company.
Correct.
But you ultimately you have a job which you can be fired from.
Yeah.
You know, if they fire you from your job, you know, they can't take your equity away, except for they can. But, you know, it's a more sophisticated.
Yeah.
You know,
there's
legal
a lot
process.
that goes into it, but it does happen
Right,
before.
for sure.
And will they? They will. You know, they'll go through that. It's you're basically getting in bed with the devil. You know.
So this is why the presentation I showed you, we talk about these you know, toxic cheat codes.
Oh, yeah.
That professional investors put in deals.
Most definitely. And so you guys got an investor before 2000 for your tech company.
Yeah.
And then after that, talk to us about the sale of that company and
Yeah.
getting
So
out of that.
you know, it was good before there was, you know, these huge, you know, multiples on forward revenue exits.
Yeah.
It was a good exit in that company. Allowed me to live, you know, for a couple of years thinking about, like, you know, planning my next thing. And then what I started looking for is I love the process of raising money. That to me was fascinating. It was a Rubik's Cube that was so complex and interesting, and the people in it were so interesting. So then I just sort of dedicated myself as, how do you pitch for raising capital?
Correct.
And so what I found, the answer, and this is what I described in Pitch Anything, well, I think it all ties back to Sequoia. The venture firm Sequoia, at some time, I would say maybe 97, 98, 99, said, I think around 97, they said, look, so many of you dummies are coming here to present us these high-tech deals to tap into .com money. We just want a unified, like a bank. If you go to get a loan at a bank, or you get a credit card application, right? Credit card application isn't like, write an essay. Give us your opinion of what you think about life and space.
It's not
and
complicated.
God. Right. It's fill out this form so we can analyze you.
Based off of basic questions,
off of basic
generic and
data. So Sequoia was the first firm that says, we can't process all of these entrepreneurs and all of these ideas and all of these random formats. So they said, here's the format. Just come pitch us as the mission, vision, purpose, team, problem, solution, value proposition, assumptions, market size, TAM, SAM, SOM, competition, customer profile, cost to acquire customer, churn, and let's see, what would be the, you know, how big, how fast, right? Pro forma and exit strategy. 12 slides. And so just come do those slides in that order so we can have this well-organized intake process.
Oh, yeah.
And that became the standard on which companies started to pitch themselves. And that's why you'll see, if you look at a deck today, it'll go mission, vision, you know, team, problem, solution, value proposition, market, competition, you know, exit strategy, you know, maybe some technology, and you know, a couple other things thrown in that. But what's missing there is the story. And it puts on the venture capital firm or the private equity firm or the investor, and you see this a lot in real estate, what is the story? What's really happening here? Because one thing for sure is not happening here is the fucking appraisal, right?
I agree.
All right? Because if you go to a very well-connected, cashed up, smart, clued up real estate entrepreneur, he's going to get the appraisal he wants.
Oh, most
so
definitely.
The story is not the appraisal. The story is not the pro forma, because if you go get an Argus run, you know, and you feed it numbers, you're going to get the run that you want, right? And so it's not. So the story is not the pro forma. The story is not the management team. Especially in real estate, everybody has got this great background, right? And you know, everybody's gone to a good school.
Correct.
Everybody worked at a good firm. Everybody has prior successes. Everybody has some kind of track record they can point to. Everybody has relationships, logos, things like that, especially in real estate. Every market, right? It could be a town with 12 people in it, right? Rapidly growing, you know, 60% year over year, metro, and, you know, which there's rapid expansion. So these cliche narratives that describe real estate deals do not give the investor any decision-making ability. It's what is the story? And the one thing that I learned is real estate, we can talk about tech, we can talk about other, but real estate is about the people who go in the building in the morning and leave at night, or stay there overnight and leave in the morning.
Correct.
It's about the people. So what is happening with the people? And that's I look at these real estate decks and I go, this reminds me of one of those movies where they go, no animals, were injured during the filming of the movie. Like the horses are being shot, things are flying off a cliff. Yeah. Planes are exploding, and they're like, no, nobody was injured during the filming of this movie. And so I look at these decks, like no humans were involved in the filming of this pitch. Mm-hmm. And real estate is not about ground. That's dirt. It's about people.
Yeah.
And so that is when think about like, how do I tell these stories about people in the real estate? And then I got involved with a partner, and fortunately I got
How'd you find your business
pitch.
partner?
We just knew each other socially.
Yeah.
He was making a ton of money in 1031 exchange, and then he's like, hey, I can't do both acquisition and disposition, capital raising and disposition.
Yeah.
So he brought me into capital raising, but he gave me a bunch of assets in Hawaii. So I got sort of led into the soft pitch. It's like, well, the pitch for Hawaii is they're not making any more Hawaii.
Yeah.
But resort retail, resort alt, is about you get to tell a story about people.
Correct.
And about and it doesn't have to be about the ground, the appraisal, and the metropolitan statistical area. So if you could find the stories about the money, is when you can get people paying attention, and go back to our earlier conversations, expand their buy box a little bit. And that's.
Would you say real estate you've always had a passion for, or after the tech company heavily?
I think real estate. I have a passion for real estate finance.
Yeah.
I never went to the assets. That's what the operating guys did.
Correct.
I didn't have a passion. Like a lot of guys want to walk the asset. They want to, they're into the lobby. We bought 27 hotels at some point. They're into the lobby and the flooring and the signage and the things, the oeuvre of the actual asset. That never really interested me. It was like when I looked at an asset, kind of like the Matrix, just the numbers falling.
Yeah.
Right. And how can I see the human story inside these numbers? I didn't really need to see the bricks and mortar.
Yeah, no, that definitely makes sense. So after that, let's walk on and talk through what you essentially created. After you wrote the book, Pitch Anything too.
I think Pitch Anything was very interesting. It allowed me to get into something else I like to do, which is you present and work with people.
Yeah.
People would come here and say, hey, we read Pitch Anything. And then I got to step into companies like Xerox, companies like Symantec, Veritas, Publicis, a company with 10,000 employees, and work with the senior management. So Pitch Anything got me into rooms that I would never have been able to get into on my own. And I think that is what ultimately I try and do with these podcasts.
I love
with
that.
The book, with the publishing, is help people see what's inside of a room that's above their punching weight.
Yeah.
What are the conversations in those rooms? How do I be an insider at the next level of the game?
Most definitely. And what was that thought process, to yourself, hey, I'm going to write a book. I'm going to put all this in a book and then just have everyone understand it at that level.
I think I got dragged into the book because people were seeing what I was doing, and they were like, can you write this down? I wrote some of them down. They're like, this would be a great book. I was on a radio show, and they're like, your voice is made for authoring, not radio.
Not radio.
Right.
You actually hosted a radio show?
I was on a couple radio shows.
Love
I
that.
was a co-host on a radio show. Was not, didn't have a lot of pickup, wasn't very popular. But my agent over there, he's like, you have a charisma and a personality. I'm going to introduce you to a book agent. Radio is not for you.
Yeah.
This is not a medium that you were born into for whatever reason. So then I wrote some of it up, some of the things that I was doing. So for example, I had a partner and we were in a deal. I'll talk about this a lot. The deal was going poorly. The investor was slipping away from us.
Yeah.
There was negative or poor communication between my partner and the investors, and I could feel like my fee, which I needed, was just slipping away. And then he sent an email, 3 letters, all caps, or 3 words, all caps, only in the subject line. Lose my number. Like, we want them to invest in us. This deal is way down the road.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
I thought I'm the only one that gets those type of emails.
He sent lose my number. I'm like, well, no, in my world, came from academia. I ran a real company. I work with what I would call real firms, and I came into this deal. And he said to an investor, lose my number, all caps, no other words in the email. This deal is dead. Nobody talks to each other like that.
No, I agree.
And then I'm just my head in my hands. I'm like, how am I going to get all this to work? So many problems now that this deal is dead. And then bing, Microsoft mail. Then at times like ping, ping, ping. I'm like, oh, here's all the FUs. Like, don't even talk to
here
us
they
again.
come.
And the first email that I saw that pinged in was, I'm sorry. An apology. Didn't mean to stretch this out. We're going to get the wire together, right? And we'll close this afternoon. I was like, what just happened? And for me, that moment was like, a young man reaching into the back of his closet or wardrobe, seeing a little knob, and like, what's this? Pulling on it and be like, there's Narnia back there. Like, there's lions and dragons and flying ships, and there's this whole other world where you could tell somebody who you're trying to invest with you and get something from, lose my number. And they still do the deal. Like, what crazy pants world is this that I'm looking at? And so I went into that world and I found there's a whole universe in which you don't have to be saccharine and sugary and cloying and sweet and trying to you can be honest and transparent. And so if you're an insider and you know the rules, you can play the rules of the game fairly, and you do it with integrity, then you can hold other people accountable. And if lose my number is how you hold somebody accountable, if, hey man, you're out is how you hold somebody accountable. Hey man, if this is how you really behave, this is not for us, then if that's your
demeanor and how they hold business. Yeah.
And so if you make it about the work you're willing to do, right? The values that you have, the integrity which you're able to run a deal, the openness in which you talk to people, the way you convey yourself, the deal you have, then you can control the center position. And then anything weird they can do, you can frame as weird.
Yeah, most definitely.
Delaying a wire. Not what can we do to help you move along, but why are you acting this way, right? We have a LOI 6 weeks ago. We had a definitive agreement 2 weeks ago. We had a purchase and sale agreement a week ago. It was signed off by legal. You've used 60 hours of your own time. You've used 40 hours of our time. What about you will be creating this behavior this far into a relationship?
That's why I love the psychological aspect behind it. In business and private equity, that psychological play, because it's a mindset. What triggered him, to act like that and to be like that?
And I was a friend of mine was selling a company to Goldman Sachs, $780 million transaction. Goldman Sachs found an accounting error, not malevolent, not intentional, but it would have allowed them to take a $10 million discount on the deal per the purchase and sale agreement. And they came back and they said, we're going to close as is.
Wow. That's rare.
And so the seller said, why? And they said, because we're Goldman Sachs and we need our term sheets to be taken seriously. And when we put one out, we want people to know
and if they retraded
that we close.
It'd be bad.
And we don't retrade. And so this is not a big enough reason for us to retrade. Our term sheets are the gold standard.
Wow.
And so why would we want to be have any less of a value system? Of course, we're scaled down from Goldman Sachs, but why should we have, this is what I tell our people, why should we have less of a standard than Apple? Why should we have less of a standard than Goldman Sachs? Why should we have less of a standard than the American Olympic team?
No.
Right.
Not
we
at
may
all.
not be as high performing. We may not be as
You
wealthy.
are high performing in just a different way.
In our domain.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah, most definitely. You guys are still high performing. And to touch on that, it's going to roll in. I want to talk real quick of common mistakes you feel people make in negotiations. And then I want to touch on Italy, because we both love Italy as a country and what you guys are doing over there. I think it's phenomenal. I think everyone should listen to it. But before we touch into that real quick, what do you think some of the common mistakes people are making right now in negotiating?
So I think I read, I can talk to Chris Voss about it.
Love Chris Voss.
So one of the things I read in Chris Voss's book is he negotiated this car deal down.
Yep, I remember that.
To where the car dealer lost money and he had a super, right? But for me, I take no pride in making another, so I disagree with him completely on this.
Yeah.
Because I'm a good negotiator, I'm good at framing, I wrote a book called Pitch Anything. I will take all your money, right? I will close the deal on you because I'm sophisticated, a professional, I study it, I'm very experienced, been doing this a long time. Just because I can does not mean I should. I get no pleasure from making another business person lose money.
You shouldn't. I mean, you should make it a win-win. There's so much capital out in the whole world that it should be a win-win.
There's I think by definition. So I want to get the problem. So it's seeing the trees for the forest, right? Is focusing on winning price, focusing on winning terms, but not getting respect, reputation, awareness, or being able to build on that, and just trying to win. So I think any team in basketball can win on a given day by throwing elbows, by cheating, by everything like that. But then the coach is not going to stay there. The fans are not going to be proud of it. People are not going to bring their kids to the game. So yes, any team, the worst team in the league could beat the best team in the league
most definitely
on that day by cheating, right, or playing the game not as it was intended to play. And but the loss from doing that would be so dramatic. So you don't want to win at all costs. So I think in negotiation, people have this sense of I have to win this negotiation. Win the. I told you my son plays defense. It's like offense wins games, defense wins championships.
Yeah. No, I love that.
I
It's
think
spot on. It's true.
So that's one is trying to win the game but not the championship. Number two is anchoring high. I just it's a negotiation strategy that works, but as you start to professionalize your career, and you work with people close. So anchoring high works when you can see here we don't buy carpet. Once every 2 years we buy carpet. Yeah. So I got into a carpet shop. I don't know what it costs. I don't have any contacts. I go, hey, we need black carpet for our studio.
Just get it done.
We need 5,000 square feet, and they can anchor high, and they go, it's $12,000. I'm like, so then they're going to let me negotiate them down to 9. I think I win, and they would have done it for 7.
Correct.
And that's like typical anchoring high. But you get in a domain where people know what they're doing, right? That is closer, say, multifamily. Real estate. Yeah. Like what a door is worth, what the real estate worth, what interest rates are. And they anchor high. They're like, hey man, you just seem like a difficult, unreasonable person to work with. I'm out. And so anchoring high, I think, can really backfire as you start to professionalize what it is you're doing in negotiation.
Yeah, most definitely.
I think in negotiation, I guess in what domain, I buy a lot of stuff. And I think today give me an example of a domain of negotiation where we could find the errors. Anchoring high for sure.
Yeah.
And then just trying to make it about price. In the United States, I think we talked about.
Correct.
So in the United States, basically the consumer. And it depends on region, domain, mentality, socioeconomic, but at the higher end, business, consumer is not concerned primarily about price.
Yeah.
They're concerned about speed.
Correct.
They want to solve their problem
Quality.
rapidly, and they want integrity. They want certainty.
Yeah.
So if you can give people more certainty that the solution will work, they become much less concerned about price in the United States.
Most definitely.
And then when you look to other cultures, right, because they don't have the economy we have, they don't have the amount of cash in the system, they don't have the systems of finance we have. They're India, right? Yep. Israel, smaller markets, but their culture is very focused on price.
Yeah.
And so there you get cultural negotiation imbalances where we don't care about price, we care about integrity, right? They only care about price.
Yeah. And I want to roll that into my next question, which I know we're cautious on time and want to be valuable with your time, is bringing that manufacturing company to United States from Italy. Talk to us about that. You're passionate about Italy and also this manufacturing company, which you were explaining to me earlier. And I love the niche that you guys are in. Talk to us a little more about that and what you're working on.
Yeah, I had a client that came in, and they have a new they own an entire industry. We talked about they're in Italy.
Correct.
They own 100. They make machine tools that make a product for American homes, and every product that's made in the world for U.S. homes, Swedish homes, Russian homes is made on their equipment. They own the entire global market, right? My book is really well known in Italy. for some reason, is just I'm very well recognized there.
Love
and they
that.
said, hey, if we could talk to Oren Klaff about bringing our new technology to the U.S. market. And so we got on the phone. They were like amazed. We're just sitting there, pick up the phone, and they're like, oh my God, we're talking to Oren. I'm like, oh, somebody actually called us today. So but they said, hey, can you help us bring this new manufacturing technology that we have in the United States? We're a $400 million company. We have 1,000 employees. We've been doing this for 60 years, but we want to bring something new to the U.S. market. And we don't understand the U.S. capital markets. We don't have boots on the ground. We don't even speak the language, in the same way that a U.S. native does. And it's new technology. We need pitch anything Oren Klaff to bring. So I partnered with this Italian manufacturing firm, 750, 1,000 employees. And so working with somebody who owns an entire industry and bringing them to the United States to introduce their new technologies to build, in 36 months, $1 billion asset. That to me is like the full arrival of the Pitch Anything brand. We're able to do that with such a big, meaningful partner, and then so that is, we're introducing investors to that deal. So if you love Ferrari, if you like Lamborghini, if you like Prada, if you like Gucci, if you like
Ducati,
Louis Vuitton, Ducati, anything that has, Italians build products that we have come to know as emotional.
Yeah.
Right? We build
have
products in America that are very
involved
functional,
in it. Yeah.
but emotional.
Most
Anything
definitely.
where you feel something, a Ferrari, a Louis Vuitton purse. And so if you want to be involved with an Italian company that makes one of the most emotional products in your home, then that's something we invite you.
No, I love that, what they're doing over there, that community, that feel, that vibe. It's phenomenal. And for those that want more information, we'll have all this in the show notes as well, so they can reach out to you to get more information on it. Oren, I want to thank you so much for joining us on the show. Very excited. Everyone, make sure you subscribe and like. This is how you'll be updated on new episodes as well. Oren, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, Chris. I feel like we got another 3 shows left to do here, but I appreciate your time today and coming by.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you for tuning in to the Chris Salerno Show. We hope you enjoyed today's episode and gained valuable insight to help you along your journey. Don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. If you have any questions or topics that you would like to cover, feel free to reach out directly to me. Shoot me a message on Instagram at Chris_Salerno_. Until next time, keep pushing forward and stay inspired.